Author and conference speaker Cheryl Martin.
Each one of you, God has crafted you and given you your set of gifts and abilities, whether it's 1 or 10. Whatever He has called you to do as a king's daughter, He has equipped you. You've got to use what's in your hand and fully develop it.
Welcome to the weekly broadcast, Excellent Living, committed to encouraging and enriching you to do life God's way. I'm Doris McMillan. Every woman wants to feel good and look great. This quest continues through every season of life. A couple of years ago, a popular television show capitalized on this desire when it offered a complete makeover to a lucky man or woman free of charge. Each episode showcased this total transformation. Now, while most of us will never get that opportunity, Cheryl Martin unveils some powerful principles today that, if put into practice, will produce another makeover, one that allows you to become the woman God created you to be. If you're unable to listen to the entire presentation, you can go online to excellentliving.org and order a CD of this complete teaching. Now here's Cheryl.
There is a popular television show, and I'm sure some of you have seen the show, called Extreme Makeover. It is one of the most popular shows on television, and I find myself watching it from time to time because the show has received thousands of letters from people who are making a pitch to get an opportunity to have a makeover, a dream come true experience. Now, they're not asking for just a nip or tuck there. This is an opportunity for them to be remade or resculptured by a complete team. Surgeons, whether it's dental work, plastic surgery, a top trainer. And the reason why these people are excited for this complete overhaul job, and they're willing to go under the surgeon's knife, and many of them will be away from their families for months. But they're willing to do this for the potential reward of joining the ranks of the beautiful people. They're going to feel more confident because they are now attractive. Now, the only thing is, this show only guarantees an extreme external makeover. Tonight, I'd like to talk about the process of another extreme makeover, but this one produces the woman that God created you to be, a woman of excellence, and this extreme makeover is internal. This makeover transforms us from the inside out. It begins inward, and then it flows outward, creating a beautiful, confident woman living with purpose. Because when God created us, it was with a predetermined course in mind. One of my favorite scriptures is Psalm 16:5, and it says, "You have assigned me my portion and my cup. You have made my lot secure." So that means before the foundation of the world, God already doled out your assignment. I love it. It says, your lot is secure. That helps with jealousy. That helps with envy. You have assigned me my portion and my cup, and my lot is secure. So that means that before we were born, God selected our parents, intellect, looks, race, our gifts and talents for one reason: that we would fulfill the purposes that He created us, that we would be women of excellence. Now, the reason why I love to start with this, because maybe along the way, maybe even your mother said you were unplanned. Not by God. She maybe didn't plan you, but God did. God doesn't make mistakes, so it doesn't matter the circumstances of how you arrived. You were planned in the mind of God. You see, God was not caught sleeping the day you were conceived. He didn't say, oh, I didn't mean for Mary to be conceived. How do we know that? One of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 1:5, and I was looking over this again before I came downstairs, and I get excited every time I read this because it talks about just the omnipotence and the omniscience of God. When he told the prophet Jeremiah, he wasn't a prophet at the time, he was just minding his business, and God said to him, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. When you read that verse slowly, excitement should well up. Because the God of the universe is saying, before we were formed, he knew us. He knew you. Before you were conceived, before the sexual act took place, he set you apart. Now for Jeremiah, his assignment was to be a prophet. And what I love about this, and I think it's important for us to understand, when God was talking to Jeremiah, it wasn't a word to God about his dreams for his life. Jeremiah didn't dominate the conversation to tell God what he wants to do for God. How many of us will spend more time telling God what we want God to do for us when he wants to say, wait a minute, Susan, I created you. I'm the one with the agenda for you. So I don't need you to tell me what you want to do for me, because before you were born, I set you apart and I had an assignment for you. Jeremiah didn't name it or claim it because God, the Creator, was speaking. And he said, my assignment is for you to be a prophet. Now, those words don't apply to Jeremiah. The fact that God called him to be a prophet to a particular people, that is specific. But what I love about God, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So what do we learn from this particular encounter? That in the 21st century, right here in Baltimore, God has an assignment for you.
Yes, ma'am.
That is what gets me excited.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't matter if you only got to the 6th grade. It doesn't rule out your assignment. So whether it's in your home as a stay-at-home mother, on your job, in your neighborhood, climbing the corporate ladder, you have an assignment that's uniquely crafted for you.
Yes.
And if we follow God's principles, that's the key. That's the key to ensuring that we fulfill the purpose for which he created us. So I want to share 5 principles with you tonight that are essential in ensuring that this extreme makeover takes place and you become the woman God created you to be. That's what I live for every day. Lord, I want to make sure that I fulfill the assignment for which you created me. And the first principle is this. It's real basic. Give God your heart. Now, if you notice, I didn't start out by saying start attending church more, giving more, or volunteering more at the church. These are all good. But the reason why I said give God your heart is because if God has your heart, he has you. Why? Because the heart is the seat of our emotions. If you have a person's heart, you have captured that person. Any single woman knows about this. She wants to capture a man's heart. Why is that? If she gets his heart, she gets the Mercedes, she gets the house, she gets the cash. She has him.
You're right.
She doesn't go after the money, she goes after him because it's a package deal. That's why God says, if you are serious about an extreme makeover, not the ritual of coming to church, what I want from you more than anything is total allegiance. That's why in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, when they asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? He said in Mark 12:30, I want you to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your mind, all of your strength. All means all. In other words, I want you to be consumed with one thing. When you wake up in the morning, I want you to have Jesus on your mind. When you go to bed at night, I want to be all in your system. And again, we women understand this. Because when we are in love, or we think we are, we can't get him out of our minds. It's not forced. Sometimes we just, on our job, pick up the phone. I know you're busy. I just called to say I love you. You've been on my mind.
Come on now. Come on.
You'll be in the car and think about that last date, a big smile on your face. It's not forced. It just happens automatically because you are in love. And you can also tell when somebody claims they're in love with you. You know the real deal. He calls once a month. Hey, babe, you cut him off. Wait a minute. Don't play me. I haven't heard from you in a month. You don't love me. How do you think God feels? You haven't been talking to me. He's a jealous God. I don't know about you, but I'm not into man sharing. I'm not into that. Neither is God. What he wants is for us as women, whether we are single or married, for the top tier of our hearts to always belong to God, that there is never a rival for his affection. Why is it? He's the only one who's going to be with us from beginning to end. He is the only one who said, I will never leave you or forsake you. Some of us have experienced a man walking out. He's the only man I know who has died for me. The only one. And so what he says in return, I have proven to you my love. I died for you. And in order for me to accomplish the makeover, I need to know that there is no rival for my affection in your heart. So if I'm going to prove to God that I love him, that means there are certain things that I'm going to do. I'm going to think about him as much as I can, which means meditating on him day and night. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to spend quality time reading his love letter. You never get tired of reading love letters. Some of us have love letters 30 years ago. Junior's been gone, but we still want to read the love letter of how it used to be. He wants us to read his love letter, the Bible, on a regular basis because that's him telling us how he views us. So give God your heart and let him love on you and tell you the great plans he has. And I've discovered that can take care of a lot of our issues as women, because that leads me to the second principle, and that is, for the extreme makeover to take place, it's important for us to see ourselves as God sees us. In other words, that we as women allow our self-esteem to be based on what he says about us, not a man, not our mother, not what Old Magazine says, or Essence, or Cosmopolitan. Why? Because in our culture, if you read any of these magazines, there is an opinion about how we should be as women. But I prefer going to the manufacturer's handbook, because when you get a new car, if you really want to know how to operate that car at the optimum level, it comes with a manufacturer's handbook. So if we want to have the proper view of ourselves as women, it's what God says about us. Maybe someone told you you're not as pretty as your sister, or what happened to you, or you're going to be just like your mother, who never got married and had 3 children out of wedlock. You can either choose to believe that or what the Word of God says, because truth is always what God says. It's not what I think. It's not how I feel. It really isn't what I see. Truth is always what God says. How do I know that? Jesus referred to Lazarus as being asleep. Everyone else was calling him dead. So it's important that no matter what our circumstance is, honey, it's not what you say. I want to know what God has to say about it. You're saying I can't afford a home as a single mother, but that's not what God says. You said my children won't be able to go to college because no one in my family has gone to college, but that's not what God says. When I wanted to go to one of the top universities in the country, my mother says, we don't have the money, but we know God. And so we began to talk to God. Why? Because it was God who had placed that dream in my heart to be a broadcaster. This God is so concerned about dreams, some of them that we don't want to articulate to other people because we're afraid they're going to laugh at us. But I learned as a child, the age of these young girls here, I was constantly talking to God about my dreams because my mother had told me I can talk to God about anything. So as I was walking to school, I remember walking to kindergarten, passing my father's barber shop. Along the way, developing a relationship of talking to God. All right. And I watched God do what others said couldn't be done, and the university gave me so much money, it would have cost my parents more for me to stay at home and go to college in Houston and be a commuter student. So don't tell me what God cannot do. These principles work. So it is so important to see ourselves. I have had self-esteem issues, and one of the tapes that I have here, Becoming a Woman of Confidence, I talk about, again, this was something I went to God about. Because I had 7 brothers, I was not the typical young woman. I wanted to be dainty, soft, not have an opinion. I really wanted to be that kind of woman, that I didn't already know what I wanted to do on the date and the next date and the next date. I tried to change my personality. It worked for about a day. Then the real Cheryl came out. And I remember going in my room asking God, why am I like this? Why can't I be like the other young ladies who are constantly being asked out? Why am I strong? Going to him about my self-esteem issues. why am I like this? And he whispered to me and again said, for the assignment that I've given you, I have given you the personality. I know what I'm doing, in other words. He knew I would be in a male-dominated field. He knew one day I would be hosting Lead Story with 3 aggressive men on the panel with me. I didn't know that. A docile personality would not have worked. Being soft would not have been effective. Each one of you, God has crafted you and given you your set of gifts and abilities, whether it's 1 or 10. Whatever he has called you to do as a king's daughter, he has equipped you. You've got to use what's in your hand and fully develop it. Not looking to the left or right or wondering why she's prettier, got a better voice. That's not wrong questions. God doesn't compare you with anyone else. You are a designer's original. He told me one time, Cheryl, your assignment is simply to pull out of you what I've placed in you, that's all, and maximize what I've given you. Number 3, do whatever God tells you to do. In other words, you make a conscious decision on purpose to obey God in every area of your life. If you make this decision before you are faced with a dilemma, it'll be less complicated. Not what your neighbors are doing, not what your favorite television show, Desperate Housewives, not what it's espousing, but doing whatever God tells you to do. I was blessed this morning reading Jeremiah 8:23, and it says, obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Walk in all the ways I command you, that it may go well with you. See, a lot of times it's not the devil on our back. The devil is trying to block. No, it says right here that if we walk in all of his ways, it will go well. There are always prerequisites. God has standards. God, I want a blessing. God bless me. Are you obeying him? Is it your goal to obey him in every area of your life? Not the areas that you're comfortable with. I'm talking about those uncomfortable areas like refusing to have sex outside of marriage. I'm talking about in that area, for example. I'm talking about not cheating on your job by getting there 15 minutes late and leaving 15 minutes early. And they are aware that you are a believer because of the scriptures on your computer screen. They know it that way, not because of your work ethic. See, the Word of God is very practical. It comes down where we live. And God is saying, in order for you to experience the extreme makeover and be the woman I've created you to be, you must do what I say.
We'll have to stop there for today. Next time, Cheryl will conclude this teaching entitled Extreme Makeover. You're listening to Excellent Living, and that was our host, author, and speaker, Cheryl Martin, encouraging women to become all God created you to be by following the steps for His complete makeover. If you'd like a CD of this teaching to listen to again or to pass on to a friend, just go online to excellentliving.org. That's excellentliving.org. Click on Resources and select the single CD, Extreme Makeover. You also have the option of paying by check when you contact us by mail. The cost is $9 and shipping is free. Have pen and paper ready, and I'll share the address coming up. But first, let me say that this broadcast is made possible by the prayers and generous faithfulness of partners and listeners like you. If you enjoy this program and have never given, it's a wonderful time to remember excellent living during this Lent season and giving the best gift you can. You can do so in two ways: donating online when you visit our website, excellentliving.org, or by mailing your check to Excellent Living, Post Office Box 15285, Chevy Chase, Maryland 20825. That's P.O. Box 15285, Chevy Chase, Maryland 20825. Your gift of any amount will greatly encourage us and keep this broadcast on the air. All donations are tax deductible. Thank you so much. Are you experiencing a sense of loneliness and despair? That's when knowing someone is praying for you and with you can make all the difference in the world. Our counselors are thrilled to go to God on your behalf when you need it most. Just email your prayer request to prayer@excellentliving.org. That's prayer@excellentliving.org. Or you can call our prayer line at 832-766-1695. That's 832-766-1695. No request is too large or too small for God to answer. He delights in hearing and answering our prayers. We have not because we ask not. We're counting on you to help spread the word about excellent living. Encourage your friends to tune in next time when Cheryl wraps up her teaching on Extreme Makeover.